Yeah, it is live now.
Hi everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on how a divorce coach and a lawyer can make a difference in the way you deal with your divorce. So today I am joined by Audrey, who will present herself.
Hello, Sarah Jane. Hello, everyone. So I am a divorce coach, a life coach and a divorce coach. My training is accredited by the International Coaching Federation, and I'm based in London, but I work internationally amongst the French and English speaking communities around the world. So that's in a nutshell what I do. Sarah Jane, would you like to introduce yourself?
I think we'll go into more details of what you do in a minute. So I'm Sarah Jane. I'm a French lawyer. I practice in Hong Kong and in the UK. And I deal with family law, international family law, and mainly assisting French clients all over the world with issues relating to family law, estate planning, and probates. So today, it's quite an informal conversation. So if you want to join in, please feel free, just raise your hand. I think I can unmute you, or you can unmute and speak. You can ask questions in the chat and we will answer them. Basically, we're talking about, I think, the relationship between a divorce coach and a lawyer in a divorce. This webinar came about because for me, as a divorce lawyer, I can say without too much exaggeration that the way I practice has changed since I've been working with Audrey, because before that, I felt very ill-equipped to deal with my clients who were submerged by their emotions. So I think it's been a real change, and this is why I wanted to do this webinar with Audrey to explain what a divorce coach does. We all know that divorce is a traumatic experience. I'm not teaching you anything there. This divorce will have an impact on every aspect of a life, whether personal, friendship, professional, on your health. So this is very important to be able to go and see somebody other than the divorce lawyer. The idea is that when one wants to divorce, they don't always know where to turn to. They'll go and see a divorce lawyer, but that's not enough. So this is another important idea to keep in mind. And I would say that going to see a divorce coach by way of introduction is very important, whatever the state of mind of your client. Even if it's the one who makes the decision to divorce, or if it's the one who is surprised by the decision, but also for men and women. And that's very important because often people think that it's only for women. And I think men really need to see divorce coaches also. So now that I've introduced the subject, we'll get into it. What do you do? What are the roles when dealing with a divorce proceedings? We're not going to get into the role of the divorce lawyer, other to say I'm here to deal with the legal aspects, sometimes the practical aspects. But what's important to know is that the lawyer must not at any time deal with the emotional aspects. And this is left to the divorce coach. And this is where I ask loads of questions to Audrey so that she can present what she does. We often hear, we know about coaches. We hear a lot about in the professional arena. So what's the difference between what you do and the coach that we really usually go and see for work?
Yes, thank you, Sarah Jane, for a nice introduction. So yes, it's more personal, isn't it? First of all, it's not the working arena. The principles or the techniques can be similar between the two coaching, but what we do, we really deal with people with the emotional upheaval that they're going through in a divorce. And we are making sure that they deal with it in the best way possible for their own benefit. So with minimal hassle, expense, acrimony, we really focus on the goals of the person, which is similar to a coach in a company, a leadership coach. But we really offer support through the whole journey, before the decision, sometime during, so the process with working with you, similar, divorce lawyer, family law lawyers, and after the divorce to help the person rebuild their life. So it's a whole process, it's a whole emotional support. But during the divorce, we have the person, for example, prepare for the meetings with their lawyer, so they know what they want, and they're not influenced by their emotion, anger, the feeling of anger, of resentment, or fears that they could have. So we really try to make it clear for the client to help them overcome these emotions. So when they come and see you, Sarah Jane, they are much clearer on their message and what they want to achieve and what they want to get from the divorce. So that's
I think that what's important to know, and that's what a question that I'm asked often, is when do you go and see the divorce coach? And I think one part of the answer is to say that you are a life coach also. So it doesn't mean in the divorce; it can be before. If you've touched on the subject already.
Yes, I am a transformational life coach. So I really can, transform someone's life if someone's unhappy in their life anyway, basic. They don't know why they're not happy, what's going on. And it could be in their relationship. So they could come and see me before and say, oh, I don't know, is it me? Is it the couple? Is the couple dead? Or what do I do? Do I ask for divorce, or can I save the relationship? So that could be a first process. Can I save the relationship, or should I prepare for a divorce? And we work on this, during a few sessions, at least to assess the relationship. Maybe they try to communicate in another way to their partner, and sometimes that's all it needs. Difference in communication, in the way they speak to their partner, or any little actions could save a relationship if it's that easy and simple. It could be in some case, or we prepare them for the divorce process. And then they come to see you as well. And sometimes they come to see you before as well. Same as a coach, they come to see you before to know their rights and to know what they're entitled to if in case they decide to divorce. So it's a real team process even before the divorce
and all they can also come to see you after.
Yes, so after is the big part in a way, because sometimes you feel like you can never. I mean, you are totally lost. The life as you knew it disappeared. You have all your habits, your family life, everything's gone. So it's a matter of how to rebuild and how to regain this confidence and how to visualize a new path, a new life that works for you. It could be finding work. It could be moving to another country. How the relationship with your children will change. So how to adapt to this new situation with your children. There are lots of things to take into account. And when you're alone, it can feel really daunting, and you could make the wrong decisions, or you could be totally inactive, and fall into depression, for example, or negative thinking. So we help the negative thinking to be transformed into a more positive thinking through techniques, actions, and so that the person feels like, okay, now I'm not feeling well, but I will feel better tomorrow, and I'm on the process, with my coach to find ways to do that, to recover.
So now that we've talked about when to come and see you, so we know we can come and see you at any time, or I can refer clients at any stage. How does it work? How does working with you work? Do you have one-to-one sessions or group sessions? Is it like a program, or how do you work?
So yes, I have various ways to work. First of all, I offer one-to-one, and I also offer group coaching sessions. But the most important is that the person feels comfortable, feels like she can trust me, and establish a mutual rapport and trust. After that, some people really like the group coaching because they relate to other people in the same situation as them. Also, some people are further down the line and they can, advise someone else. So they give advice to each other. They give encouragement. There's a whole dynamic in a group where it's really, really nice to see, as the facilitator. I'm more a facilitator in a group than the coach way. And it's really nice to see that in a one-to-one, you get more bespoke program. You get one-to-one attention. So sometimes the progress can be quicker, in a one-to-one. I mean, they are quicker.
So you can go from one to another.
Yes, you can start with a group coaching, for example, and then think, okay, now that's what I did with a few of my clients. We started in a group coaching, and now some of them feel like, okay, actually now I need that step further, to really feel better about myself. And then we went on to do a few one-to-one. So I offer 6 sessions to 12 sessions to start with. And then we can take it from there. I don't want to overload the person. I find sometimes 6 sessions is enough just to get them back on track. If they need more time, or they need to maybe change career or do other things in their life, we can work that out in more sessions. Yes.
So basically, what are the tools what kind of tools that my clients coming to see you would get from sessions with a divorce coach?
So we have a lot of tools as the training I got is very thorough. So the main thing is to understand that the person is resourceful, valuable, and whole to the coach. It means she has the solution. We are only here to facilitate her, to find the solution within her. So we really trust the person. We're not giving advice, or it's a teamwork. So the main tools would be active listening, how we reflect back to the person as well what she shared with us. It's often very powerful, only reflecting back, asking powerful questions. We work on coaching, we work on CBC, so it's a bit like cognitive behavior coaching, instead of therapy, but it's in coaching. So we work on their limiting belief, all the thought they could have. Oh, I'll never rebuild my life. I'll never find love again. I'm so, I'm powerless. It's not fair. I'm the victim. Any of these thoughts, we try to transform them so they become more empowered of their new life and they can take actions. So it's really about yes, and blocking, all the patterns that they could have that are not serving them, and how can they, adopt new pattern, new thinking, and new vocabulary so that they can be empowered in their new life and be more free to achieve their goals, really. So that's
okay. Yeah, that's without revealing too much, that gives us quite a good idea of what we can get when we come and see you. Now I'd like to talk more about, the relationship between a lawyer and a coach, based on my experience, of course, working with you. I'd like to first really state 2 things. We really respect the principle of confidentiality. If I refer clients to Audrey, we'll never really talk about the case. It's really important to know that. Second, the reason why I started working with Audrey is because usually, and the first thing I always tell my clients when they come to see me is, are you seeing someone? Not romantically, but seeing someone like a therapist. And if they're not seeing someone, I really always encourage them to go and see a therapist. This is very important, and I've always worked like that. But I noticed that very often that a therapist wasn't enough, and for the reason that Audrey's just explained to us, that maybe the therapist doesn't give tools that Audrey will give to be able to work through certain situations. And we have to bear in mind that everybody has their job. My job is not to be a therapist or a coach. My job is to deal with the divorce proceedings. And Audrey's job is not to give legal advice. So we really have our own role, and we know where the boundaries are. However, I am often in the situation where I will spend, like, the first meeting is more about therapy, I feel, because I just listen to everything that comes out. And it's not my place, it's not my role. And I in a sense, I feel bad because I feel like I'm cheating the client. I'm not there to listen to them. And if they don't go and see somebody else, then all my meetings with the client will be the same. And I won't be able to do my job efficiently. So this is one of the reasons why I really more and more work with Audrey, and why I think a divorce coach is really important is to enable me to do my job properly. But as I say, I work with Audrey, but Audrey is not a therapist. So we also need sometimes, and most of the times, therapists to work with us. The reason I decided to reach out to Audrey and start working with a divorce therapist at first was because sometimes I noticed that when I was asking my client if they wanted to see a therapist, they were afraid. They were afraid of the implications. They were afraid of the fact of going to see a therapist could be used against them in divorce proceedings, which isn't the case. But there was this fear associated to the therapist, which left me a bit stuck, because if they didn't go and see a therapist, there was no solution for me. Whereas now, when I say, okay, are you seeing someone? Are you working with a therapist? Or would you rather go and see a coach? People are a bit surprised because they don't always know about divorce coach. And when I explain what Audrey does, they're much more they accept the idea much more, because it's not linked to psychology. Well, not officially anyway. So it is a better way to have help for me, but also Audrey is the one who will maybe make them realize that they do need to go and see a therapist also. I think Audrey will talk about it afterwards. So for me, working with a divorce coach really helps find solutions when I am stuck, because the client is so into his feelings and his emotions that he or she cannot make any decision, cannot move forward in the divorce proceedings, because they can't get over the fact that the marriage is broken, the fact that there's been adultery, or other kind of, that they're very sore. And we know that we need closure and we need to mourn the relationship, but in the divorce proceedings we don't always have time to go through the mourning process before we go on to the divorce proceedings. So things sometimes need to be done at the same time, and this is where Audrey's role is really important. And to take some examples, when sometimes in divorce proceedings we'll be stuck on one issue, such as shared custody, care and control, and everybody agrees on everything but that. And that's when the divorce coach can, step in and make the person realize that the reasons why she or he are not accepting that the shared custody is not the right for it's not for the best interest of the child, but really for a selfish reason. So basically, this is one of many examples, and I don't know what Audrey will say about that, but for me, it's really about helping the client regain control of the situation.
Yeah, Sarah Jane, you really well summarized the whole situation and how when the client comes to you, what I can do to help, you know. And I think it's about, you know, when they come, they may be in shock or denial, and it's about taking them through that journey from shock and denial through acceptance, you know, first of all. And that's the first part of when they accept this new situation. This is their new reality now. They can accept it, and when they accept it, then they can move forward. So I would say a therapist would diagnose mental health issues, and I don't diagnose. So in that case, if there is a mental health issue, I would definitely advise the person to see a therapist first, and then maybe come and see me after. But now, if they come and see me first, and I suspect there's an issue, an underlying issue that I can't help with, I will refer them to a therapist. They can either see both at the same time, or see the therapist, you know, for a few sessions first, and then come back and see me when they feel better, because divorce can be traumatic experience and can be you know, it can be very hard to deal with. And if on top you have underlying mental health issues, then it makes it really difficult to move forward. So I would say a coach really focus on the now, you know, where the person is now and how to move forward, you know, in their new life. Whereas a therapist will help them understand maybe the past and how they, you know, their behavior and their past behavior. So we are more into the present and the future in terms of the person's life, and how we can help them set their goals, you know, and visualize, you know, their new life. What do they want now? How they can achieve it, and what would stop them from achieving this new life? You know, what would stop them? What is getting in the way? Is it just limiting belief? Is it lack of confidence? You know, finance, work, anything? We try to find out what is in the way and how to overcome all the challenges so that they reach their goals. So it's practical at the same time. Obviously, we deal with the emotion and how to, as you mentioned, deal better with these emotions. So when they come and see you, they're not overwhelmed with their emotions, and they understand. They can take a step back and say, yes, I'm angry, I'm, you know, sad, and it's normal to grieve, isn't it? It's normal to have that grieving process, but how do you deal with it, and how do you move forward from that state of mind, you know?
I think what you were saying very important about the journey and set a goal, because that's what we have to do in the divorce proceedings to make people understand when they want to ask about maintenance, about children. They have to be able to look into the future and realize that there's a life, the new life, that can be a happy life, but they need to really think of what they need. And this sometimes is a very difficult process for the lawyer, to make them understand that some people just think, oh, I don't care, I just want to get through the divorce, I don't want money, I don't want anything, and then they regret it afterwards. So it's really striking a balance, and that's what the divorce coach helps achieving, a balance between you always have to defend the interest of a client, but to what extent you go to through a contentious divorce if everything can be achieved through mediation and a less conflictual divorce. And that's always difficult to decide at the very beginning, especially if the client hasn't had help from any outside help. What we often, I think, all the professionals dealing with people going through divorce all know the difficulty of the influence that friends and close family can have, which can be really counterproductive. So that's when I think a divorce coach is also very important, to make people understand that it's good to have friends, but friends are not enough, and friends are too close to be able to give good advice. That's another important thing I would like to say. Very practical also.
Yeah, totally. You're totally right that friends can be more for support than advice. It's like about bearing the consequences. You know, you mentioned the childcare and you know, the custody. And it's about thinking, where do you see yourself in 2 years, in 5 years, and how do you see your relationship with your ex-partner or your children to look like? You know, what could be the best way to deal with the situation now, so that in the future it goes smoothly between all of you, and that you are all, you know, in a position where you can rebuild a life without too much acrimony or resentment. It's also about thinking more about the children, as you said, and then the revenge or the anger aspect that they could feel, you know, at the moment. Yes.
I think one of the other important aspect that we've discussed many times is the idea that making the client realize that although the marriage is broken, that the couple doesn't exist as such anymore. The parental couple goes on and must continue. And that's one of the big job you have, Audrey. I think that's one of the most important one, because we often hear as lawyers, oh, we agree on everything with regards to children. The only problem is financial. We both have our best children's interest at heart. And then you realize that the only problem basically is children, because it's you know, they can't let go of, they don't have time to grieve, like you were saying, and everything is concentrated on the children without them realizing that they're taking their children hostage. So I think that's one of the greatest, if there is one area where I think your job is really important in helping me deal with my my divorce cases. Because if once the client realizes when there are children that this is a very important thing to resolve, because then it will lead, if it's not resolved, it would lead to really bad relationship with after divorce between the parent and the child, or not. If it's not bad, it's very unhealthy, you know. So children is, you know, very important aspect of your job also.
Yes, yes, it's about also accepting, you know, letting go of the old relationship with your children and rebuilding a new one. You have to let go. I mean, it's important that the person let go of the control. They can't control when the children are with their ex-partner. You know, they can't control what they do there. They can't control some aspects of their life, you know, and it's so frustrating for a parent to accept this. So we work on that a lot, you know, how to build quality time, how to build a satisfying relationship, you know, with your children, but a different one. You won't see them 100% of the time. Sometimes you'll be frustrated. They come home, they haven't done their homework, they haven't had their clothes washed, or any practical issue that, you know, you're going to be angry with. And so how can you react to these so that it's more productive and less, you know, and so the children feel happy to go to both parents without feeling that they have to choose, or feel that they can't, you know, tell what happened at one place or the other. That's also important.
I don't know if anybody has any question or want to share any experience with divorce and divorce coaches, or the lack of. You know, I think for me, it's really important to work with a divorce coach. I'm a French lawyer, and I've realized that it wasn't in France. We don't hear about divorce coach that much compared to England, where I am currently, which is a very common kind of coaching, more and more, which is a good sign. What I feel is that I shouldn't say that, but at the end of the day, people will say, okay, but it's costly to go and see a lawyer and then a divorce coach and a therapist. But I would say that it can help you to reduce your lawyer's fees, because, you know, the time that you spend on the phone talking about your emotional aspects, or, you know, if you don't do that with your lawyer anymore, it will certainly reduce your lawyer's fees. And anyway, it will help clients really, it will help them empower themselves, you know, gain control, and that's really important for after the divorce. That's what,
Yes.
that's
No,
my,
you're totally right. And it's great to create a space for the lawyer, you know, it's their space for their legal issues, and then they've got this different space for their emotional state and how they can, you know, move forward and rebuild a life, you know, that they can be happy, because it can happen. And I think when they're in this tunnel, they feel like there's no light, you know, they will never get through this, but they can. And yes, it's giving them hope, and it's the first thing to, you know, find them a network of support, and you know, all the different techniques I mentioned and others to really rebuild that person, so they feel again, you know, the confident person that they can be, the adults and the human being that they can become. And sometimes we are very surprised, you know, the initiatives that the people divorced can do, you know, create a new business, move, you know, move house or anything, all the new projects, you know. I heard a story about this woman. She became a chef, you know, after her husband left her. She didn't work in 20 years, and she was left, you know, with the kids, and after nearly 20 years of marriage, and she became a chef. She's independent, she's thriving in her business. So those success stories are so inspirational, and that's something I like to transmit in my coaching. You know, that it can happen. You can find, you know, your mojo, you know, your mojo back, and you can find your zone of genius. You know, where you can excel and be happy.
So if anyone has any questions, you can ask them now. And I'm just putting our details in the chat box. If anybody wants to discuss with us at another time, feel free. I mean, we really want to put the message through. So if you want to either contact me or Audrey to discuss this the way we work, we'll be really happy to share. We also, I think we can mention it now. We I don't know if you're on Clubhouse, but we do weekly rooms in French and in English to discuss all those topics freely every Wednesday and Thursday, I think. Yeah, tonight. For those in Hong Kong, it's a bit late, but we have one tonight, and we have them on Wednesday lunchtime. Yeah. So it's like early evening in Hong Kong. So if you follow our Facebook pages, all the information are there about the clubhouses. So if you have no questions, or there's nothing else to say, I think we'll end our webinar here. We'll be doing monthly webinars on various subjects. I think the next one will be on parenting and coaching. So if you're interested, feel free to sign up. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Audrey. It's always a pleasure. And see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.